Hello, everyone. We're going to get started. Okay, welcome and thank you for joining our Refined Wiki webinar today. Most of you, I know, based on our sign up little question Q&A, are new to RefinedTheme for Jira Service Desk, but a few of you are also have seen our products before. So hopefully you'll all leave today being able to learn something new. But yes, hopefully by the end of today, you'll walk away knowing how to build a really awesome customer experience for your customers with Jira Service Desk. I should also introduce myself. I'm Genevieve, and I'm the marketing manager at Refined Wiki. And also a few little housekeeping things. So if you do have an urge to, if you think of a question or something comes into your mind, you're welcome to enter a question into the chat, and then at the end we'll address those questions. And I'm recording this webinar, so if you for some reason miss it, I'll send it to you afterwards. Okay, so let's get into this. All right, so to begin with, I'm going to introduce this modern business dilemma that I think probably a lot of you are familiar with, and that is that today in many organizations, we end up having a lot of information, a lot of resources, a lot of documents, and a real wealth of information essentially, and it ends up being all over the place as we grow. It's hard to keep track of, and suddenly this really amazing wealth of information and knowledge that we have is hard to access. So this is exactly the kind of problem and dilemma that Jira Service Desk addresses. So I'm not going to convince you about how much of a good product Jira Service Desk is, but I will try and show you how you can use this awesome product to make a great customer experience and also find that information and those resources that your customers need. Okay, so when you signed up for this webinar, I asked you this question, which was, what does success look like when it comes to Jira Service Desk? And we got some really great responses. So here's some of the ones I got. So for example, work process and tasks are clear and end users can easily be helped by IT, which is a really great suggestion. Easier and more intuitive UI, tickets going to the correct forms. A service desk can compete with ServiceNow, especially with regards to customer experience. A self-serving, more intuitive customer portal. So some really great examples there. And one thing that I think we can safely say is, in some way, shape or form, this picture of success does come back to this customer experience and how we can really set that up. So that's perfect, because today we're going to go through 8 steps to create a better customer experience. And before we go into that, I can tell you there is one simple way that we can create a really great customer experience, and that is simply just to not annoy our customers. So if we manage to never annoy our customers, then we have a really sound customer experience. And I'm going to come back to this throughout the webinar, and we're going to think through things that really annoy us if we were customers and how we can combat that. So here are the 8 steps that we're going to go through and use to avoid annoying our customers. All right, so anticipating customer needs, utilizing the search, making useful content available. I'm going to really go into that in quite some detail. SLAs that's one you're probably already familiar with. having sound processes and workflows, support etiquette, I will touch on, and finally we'll finish with how to create context and personalize Jira Service Desk. And hopefully by the end of it, once I've been through all these steps, you'll have a really great plan for how to build this awesome customer experience. So the first thing that annoys customers that I'll bring up today is something that also has annoyed me a lot in the past, and that is when you get sent to self-help content, but it just isn't helpful. So this is inevitable in some cases, but there's a few tactics that we can put into place to prevent this from happening. So the first one is to anticipate your users or your customers' needs. So this might mean looking at your product analytics. It could mean interviewing your customers. It means ultimately trying your best to understand exactly what your customers are looking for and presenting those answers to your customers. The second thing you can do to improve the self-help content is to use your search and use it well. So Jira Service Desk makes this quite easy because they have a really powerful search engine behind the search bar. So you do get a lot of really good results for your search terms. But there's a few little things you can also do in addition to just having the search. For example, make sure your search bar stands out from your page, because often this is the first thing that your users or your customers will do when they come to your support, and that will be enter into the search what they're trying to look for. So make sure your search pops out. A second thing you can do, which is with our app, RefinedTheme, is you could actually add what we call recommended links. So this means, say for instance, your customer wants to know, how do I set up my VPN on my Mac? And you know that Apple Mac has a perfectly good article about this, and you don't want to recreate it within your support service. So what you can do is add that link as a recommended link. So you as the admin can create these, and the agents can also create them. And then when your user would type VPN, you would get hits for that. So in this example here, this is what we have on our own support site. So if a customer searches pricing, they'll get hits for the pricing URL page on our marketplace. You can also see in the search links to knowledge base articles. And another neat thing about our product is that you can actually define the space or spaces from which you want to pull those articles from. Okay, the third thing that we can work with to improve the self-help content in Jira Service Desk is to make useful content available. So within this topic, there's quite a few tactics that we can put in place. The first one I'll go through is about the layout. So using our app, you can customize the layout of your help center and customer portals purely by clicking this edit button you see in the right-hand corner, opening that up. So if I click the edit here, and here you see our inbuilt layout editor. So this is where you will, as the administrator, build up your help center landing pages. So whether it's your customer portal, your help center, or additional landing pages. So in this example, we've added a section here, and then we added this search highlight module. So you have that nice search bar. Then we've added a second section, and here we've used the navigation highlight module, and that's a really hot UI tip. It's a great way of making your landing pages look really sharp. So in this case, we've added 4 columns, navigation highlights, and the links to the relevant customer portals within those navigation highlights. And this is what it looks like when you add modules. So here you can see the navigation highlight module. So we add that, and now we have our nice layout, and hopefully this kind of content is exactly what our users, our customers want to navigate to first. So the next thing you can do when it comes to making useful content available is actually display the content that is relevant to a particular user or user group. So, for example, here you see Hilda, who's in the finance team. So Hilda, because she's in the finance team, she would want to see this section here which says finance and link to the finance customer portal. However, let's say Bob, who's from the HR team, he wouldn't want to see this section because finance is completely irrelevant to Bob from HR. So we can actually set up our pages to make this happen, and I'll show you how we do that. So here we have the layout, finished product again. I'm going to click the edit button, and here in the second section you can see navigation highlight there again, and here there's a little lock that's open. So what we do is we click that lock and we open up this section settings, and under view permissions, this is where we say, okay, I want to show this section only to finance users because this is already a pre-selected group. Save that one. And now when you log into your help center, Hilda from finance will see this section, but Bob from HR, when he logs in, won't see that section at all. So that's a really great way of personalizing the page and only showing the content that's actually relevant to your customers. Okay. The third key way that you can make useful content available is using your site structure. So on the left here, what you see is the way that Jira Service Desk is when you get it out of the box. So you have your Jira projects or customer portals here, and they sit within your Jira Service Desk Help Center. So when you use our app, what we do is we organize these Jira projects or customer portals into categories, which can then be organized into sites. So this is completely up to you. So for example, you could choose to have exactly the same structure as default Jira Service Desk, but say for instance, you know that the salaries and wages and X Service Desk fit within HR support, and you only want the HR users to be able to see those customer portals, then that's a good time to create a category. And then this HR support category becomes a landing page from which to navigate to these service desks. So one of you in the webinar questionnaire said one success for you was being able to put tickets, or to have your customers putting tickets in the right place. So this is a really great way of achieving that. And I'll show you another example here so you can really get a clear picture. So in this example, we have two categories sitting within the London Help Centre, and rows from IT. We've added permissions to IT support category so that rows from the IT team will be able to see this category, but Max from HR won't. So that means if, let's say, Rose logs into the help center, she'll be able to navigate to IT support because that will display on her help center, and then she'll see straight away options that are relevant to her, so hardware support or software support or whatever it is. Okay, so based on these three tactics, your customers should now be experiencing really great, hopefully receiving really great self-help content, because we know what the customer's needs and we're displaying that for them. We've got a really kick-ass search in action, and we've found a bunch of ways that we can display content that's both relevant to our customers and also available to them. So our customer is feeling pretty good about the support experience because she got what she needed. But then the customer gets annoyed again. And this time it's because she had a look in the self-help content and the content is good, but she still can't find the answer. So she's wondering if she can contact someone, but she doesn't know, are they there? Will they be able to help me? What's the deal? So this is where your SLAs come into play and your processes and workflows. And I'm not going to go into great detail with this because it's not my area of expertise, and I think you've probably already got really sound systems for this, but I will give you a few sort of examples of how you could do it. So here's one example for your SLAs. So the first thing you could do is set your priorities by establishing queues. Then you track your SLAs and automate where you can. So for example, you could automate by assigning tickets based on request type. That's a common thing we see. And then when it comes to your process and workflows, there's a lot of different ways you can set this up. And this is very, of course, dependent on organization. But here's an example of how one of our customers has set it up in a really good way. So the first thing they did was to create the self-help content. The second thing they did was make this available, which we've discussed, so you can use your layout and the permissions to make that possible. The third thing is to define the workflow. A really good practice tip here, if you're not already doing it, is to have the same workflow across business units. That just means like a hell of a lot of less maintenance over time and a much cleaner across-board workflow. The fourth thing is to establish your queues and SLAs. And then the fifth thing would be to define and build the service request based on that. And again, we automate where possible. And number 7 is a cool one that I've seen some customers do, which is reporting. And that just means like understanding how many tickets are coming in, what are the tickets referring to. So for instance, if you're getting a lot of tickets about how to set up your product, then you know that you probably need better self-help content on that. So straightforward reporting. And then the last one is about communication. So in this particular example, this company, when they released Jira Service Desk as their support portal, they did a really good job of communicating how the product works across the company. So I think they actually created a video with a fun example of how customers could actually use that Jira Service Desk. Okay, so that covers SLAs and process and workflows. And now our customer is, again, feeling pretty good about our support because she was able to get access and she knew exactly when that person would get back to her thanks to the SLAs, and because of a smooth process and workflow, she got the help that she needed. However, she then becomes annoyed again because she received a response, but it wasn't very helpful. So she's sort of thinking, this is annoying. I'm not loving this whole support experience. So this is where number 6 comes in, which is support etiquette. So what on earth do I mean by this? There's a few little things that we can do as agents or support admins to create this really great interaction with our customers. The most important thing with this is to tailor your responses to your customer, of course. So the kind of ideas I'm going to give you are ideas, but hopefully it'll be helpful in some way. So The first one is to use niceties. And a nicety means simple things like saying, have a nice day, or hi, Jen, or thanks very much. All these things are niceties. So essentially, a nicety is something that makes a very neutral sentence a warm, positive one. And I highly recommend using this. So in this example you see here, this has 0 niceties whatsoever. Send me another screenshot. So very simply, we can say, hi, Genevieve, please send me another screenshot. Thanks. A little bit of a few extra words, and suddenly this is really warm support. Okay, the second thing when it comes to support etiquette is to not bullshit your customers. So this means, say Rose from IT tells me as a customer that I'm sure we can find a solution and I'll get back to you within a month. But what she really means is we don't have a solution to this and I'm not going to get back to you. But she's fake and she bullshits essentially. So this is really, really not cool. So the tip here is, if you don't have a solution, admit it and try to offer a workaround. So here would be an example. You're not the first person to make this request, and unfortunately, we do not offer a solution to that in this point in time. However, I suggest reaching out to X company and they'll most likely be able to assist you. Okay, the next thing is to use your own voice. So sometimes, you might come across support where the agents are extremely formal and using polite, formal language. And there's actually nothing wrong with this. However, my research with support admins has told me that it's generally better to use your own voice. So that means in this situation, I want Rose from IT to sound like Rose from IT and not like a, formal business something, or a teacher from high school or something like that. We want Rose to be Rose. So Rose could just simply say, hey, Genevieve, I'll get onto the dev team and get back to you. And I clearly know that this is a really personalized message from Rose. Okay, second last etiquette thing is don't be rude. So here's an example of rude. No hi before Genevieve. As I've already said, you need to upload a screenshot. So the key here is to think my customer can do no wrong. And in this example, Rose is sort of suggesting that me as the customer, I've done something wrong. So we can change that around and just say, hi, Genevieve, this is a friendly reminder that I need that screenshot from you in order to take a look at the issue. Thanks again. Okay, final one. And this is to flag automated responses. So there's different opinions on this, except we believe this is the best practice. And this is, so if you're going to send an automated message, don't pretend like it's not an automated message. Your customers are not stupid. So an example would be flagging, yes, this is an automated message. And the second important thing is to explain to your customer what they can expect as a result of this message. So if this was, for instance, in a thread on your support page, you wouldn't need to repeat flag it. So below this message, you wouldn't need to flag that it's automated again. But certainly if you're opening a discussion with a customer and it's automated, it's good practice to actually flag that. All right. So our customer is feeling pretty good again. They're thinking, gosh, that was really helpful service and I'm probably going to use it again, until suddenly they become really confused. And this is because they're on the help center and they get a bit lost and they've got so much going through their head, they just can't be bothered, putting time or energy into this. So 2 ways that we can avoid confusion, and they are to add context. So this one's really straightforward, and I'm going to show you an example of how you can, in fact, add context by applying your CI, which is corporate identity, using titles and labels, and carefully labeling your Jira projects. So here's an example, which hopefully some of you are familiar with. So Atlassian hold these events around the world called Atlassian user groups. And this is their own logo. And as a hypothetical example, I've created a customer portal where these people attending these user groups might come to. So here we have, before we've done anything with Jira Service Desk out of the box. And then what we do is we've added the Atlassian coloring. We've got the logo top center. So we straight away know, yes, we're on the Atlassian user group help center. It's 2019. There's my search. I can navigate to my customer portals, or look, I can register for an event. So here we've got brand, corporate identity, tick. We've got clearly labeled customer portals and links. And I'll show you how I actually built up this page in a moment. But first of all, I'll explain the second part or the second tactic that you can implement to avoid confusion, and that is to personalize the content. So the first part of the personalization is what I've already been through. So that's to use view permissions and the layout editor to show only relevant content to your user. And the second part, which I'll show you now, is personalization tactics. So the top one is a module that I'll show you, and the second one is text variables. So text variables are sort of texts that you can automate as labels to pull in different automated text. So I'll show you an example here. So at the moment, this says 2019 user group support, but I'm going to use text variables to make this say, hi, logged in username. So it becomes more personal. And we do this, again, by opening up the editor, and then we open up the editor within the search highlight. And here you can see primary text, hi, $, user first name. So we've entered this. And what this will do is, we'll save that. So what this does is creates an automated welcome page for me. So that's a really nice, easy way of personalizing your pages. A second thing you can do, which I mentioned, is to add my requests to your customer portal. So here within the modules, you'll see this bottom left one here is called my requests. So we're going to use that. And here you can see now when I come to my customer portal, all of my requests are there front and center. So suddenly this page has become very clear, and I have everything I want to see within the one page. I don't need to navigate anywhere. So context fully ticked off. No confusion. Okay. So now we've been through all these 8 steps, and hopefully if you go through all these 8 steps, you will also have a really sound customer experience. And more importantly, your customers will be thinking, that is really, really kick-ass support. I will use it again. So let's go to questions. I'll just check if anyone's got any questions. Doesn't look like there are. So just a final note that here we go. If you do want to see an example of this in real life, we actually use this product, so it's RefinedTheme for Jira Service Desk, on our support site, which is support.refinedwiki.com. And you can also go there and file a ticket if you run into any technical trouble or you need help with setup or that sort of thing. So thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in today, and hopefully you'll join us for some webinars in the future. And happy theming.